want to introduce you to Julie Graham. Julie is with ExploreTRV, as I said, that is the Tennessee River Valley. And Julie, if you're ready, you can go ahead and take it away.
I am ready, and I'm hoping I'm not going to fall off. I don't know if my picture has gone away. I just want to say thank you for letting me participate today. I had a picture up there for all the daydreamers out there looking for that beautiful sunset and that water. The ExploreTRV project is a vision and a map guide, an online map guide. We're talking one river, the Tennessee River. You're going to go through technically the valley goes through 7 states, but what you know is the Tennessee River crosses 4 states. Our map guide has 125 counties. Your trip covers 652 miles if you do the entire river, and you will go through 9 locks and dams. And what's really interesting about that, you start at a lower elevation if you're coming downriver from Paducah, or if you start over in Knoxville, you're going to go down. So when you're going through those locks and dams, it's sort of like a bathtub, either filling up or coming out. This is a very iconic waterway. One of the reasons we have a National Geographic designation is because the river has incredible biodiversity, and it's also an iconic place. So who are we? We're a group of volunteers. I'm a volunteer. I can tell you a lot about the Knoxville area. I have partners who can tell you a lot about the Huntsville area, the Chattanooga area, down there in the corner, Pickwick, which is the triad of Mississippi and Alabama, and Savannah, Tennessee. And we're also very diverse. We have those beautiful cities that as you go along the water, that would include places like Paducah, Kentucky, and Chattanooga. I can't show you my screen, it's going to fall off. Chattanooga and Knoxville and Huntsville. We also are trying to link you to authentic places. So I had the opportunity to visit with some of you back in October, and we got a lot of questions about places you go by. So this map guide essentially will tell you where you are on the river. And you have Civil War sites, you have historic trains, you have the Trails of Tears, and those are very iconic. When you think of Shiloh and Chickamauga battlefields, you're right there. And then there are the events. People ask me about events, and certainly there are events that when you go down the river that you will want to visit, and they happen at certain times of the year. I understand many of you travel the river during the fall and for watching leaves, but there are a lot of iconic events that happen along the river, and it's just knowing when they happen. And then there's the places to go. So you've pulled into port, and I kind of think when you're going down these places, you want to go see what's nearby. And so this map guide will help you with that. So we think of Chattanooga and beautiful Ruby Falls. It's so close to where you are. Or the Great Smoky Mountain National Park. Maybe you want to go visit that. And then there's the dog friendly. And most of these cities are incredibly dog friendly. There's greenways and small islands that you can take your dog off and visit with. Basically, the map guide is those authentic places. These were all vetted by local people, and they're the authentic places to go shop, play, and eat. And again, I've learned a lot from you all about how do you access these places. So we've been working on a guide, and you're able to send me an email that will tell you how to access Uber, or there are electric bikes you can rent, or where do you go to get a ride into some of these places that are just slightly off the river. So I want to just talk about a couple of the cities that you go by pretty routinely. One would be Paducah. I mean, I know a lot of you have probably pulled up to Paducah, but how many of you know that it's a UNESCO creative city? And the history of the river is told on the wall of murals. We have Ayuka, Mississippi, and many of you know Ayuka because you're coming through Savannah down there at Pickwick, and you're making the decision, am I going to go over to Knoxville or Chattanooga, or am I going down to the Gulf of Mexico through the Teton? But Ayuka is a really interesting little community. Tishomingo County is named after an Indian leader. Ayuka is named after an Indian leader. So there's this incredible history that's right there in the parks. There's also some beautiful waterfalls if you get out a little bit off the river. An interesting little story about Ayuka. In 1904, St. Louis World's Fair, it was named the best mineral water, came out of that particular location. As you go downriver and you get to Ingalls Harbor, I'm sure many of you have seen Ingalls Harbor, which is a beautiful place, but Ingalls Harbor was an abandoned shipyard, and that abandoned shipyard has turned into a little mecca for people who come by boat. We see a lot of fishing tournaments off these lakes, but it also has hotels and shopping and restaurants. It's an easy stop for the loopers. Huntsville, talk about the space race. And if you get off in Huntsville, you have the Museum of Space right there. This is where the first, at the Red Arsenal location, where the giant first manned spaceship that went to the moon, that's where it was built and developed. And again, Huntsville has a great green space for walking around through gardens. You can get right off at the river and walk around. Chattanooga is all about the riverfront, and I think y'all know that. But Chattanooga is also home to the start of the Trail of Tears. So you can pull right up there and see the artwork that describes Trail of Tears and the whole start of the Cherokee and the 7 civilized tribes being moved out. And then, of course, my neck of the woods, which is Knoxville. Anywhere between Lenoir City and Knoxville, you can pull off and access easily the Great Smoky Mountain National Park. One of the places I'd actually ask you to go look, our website is pretty easy to find. We're ExploreTRV.com. We also love pictures, and we're happy to show your stories on our site, and that's hashtag ExploreTRV. One of the things that I'll be having in my booth this week are some little fun itineraries. In May of this past year, 2020, we took a little ride on the river. We called it Any Man's Journey down the Tennessee River. And Captain Bob just got on a 21-foot pontoon boat and cruised the river in about 10 days. And we put some of the nice stops along the way, places he stayed, and pictures from that route. So again, I apologize for not having video up. I have a really hard time keeping video up or even a picture up, which I had one up earlier. So I just open the room to questions. I know I got a lot of questions the last time about what is this. So I'd like to take a chance to either ask questions or have you folks tell me what we could do better to have you experience the river in a more authentic way.
Thanks, Julie. So we will open it up to questions. We did get a few questions while you were talking, Julie, about the map guide that you mentioned. Is that available online? Is that at that ExploreTRV?
Yes, it's all online generated. Everything that has been nominated was nominated by a person. Most of the marinas along the river have been added by the University of Tennessee students for us. But again, if you had something you wanted to add, you can just send it to us and we'll add it.
Okay, and so folks can access the map directly through ExploreTRV.
Yes. And it has all GPS, so if you're somewhere, when you're on the map, you're going to be able to see what's nearby. That's the way it's set up to work.
Okay, perfect. And we have our fall rendezvous often along the Tennessee River.
Joe Wheeler.
Beautiful cruising area. Yep, Joe Wheeler State Park in Rogersville, Alabama. Hopefully we will be back there this fall, COVID allowing, of course, but beautiful cruising and beautiful areas to visit. We had a member a few years back that was a University of Tennessee graduate. So he, on the loop, made sure he did the side trip on the Tennessee River all the way to Knoxville so he could be in the Vol Navy there, which was a highlight for him. And because the back of his boat said Jacksonville, Florida, everybody wanted to know how he had arrived there. So he was actually even in the local paper. So kind of a claim to fame for him on his great loop trip. We have a question for you, Julie. This person has a grandchild coming in August. Where would be the best location to leave a boat in a marina and then drive or fly to Savannah, Georgia? So I'm guessing in August, and this is an anonymous attendee, so I'm not sure, can't call you by name, but I'm guessing in August you're expecting to be there in the Tennessee River Valley area?
I would say that Chattanooga is an easy drive over to Savannah, Georgia. Also, if you want to go farther up, Knoxville, transient docking is available at marinas around Lenore City into that area of Knoxville as well. Savannah's kind of an interesting drive. You can either choose to drive to Atlanta and then cut over, or be in Knoxville and drive down and take 26 through Asheville and then pick up 95 into Savannah. So it just depends on which way you want to go. If you go to Atlanta, you would then pick up 16 across to Macon and fall into Savannah, Georgia. Both of them are different drives. They're both pretty.
Okay, and that was from Felicia. Thanks, Felicia. If that answered your question, if you've got a follow-up one, just let us know. What other questions do we have out there for Julie? I can also speak to Huntsville being an awesome stop on the loop, and I've been there on boat, and my son is actually in Huntsville going to school for aerospace engineering. So yeah, the museum there, the Space Museum is amazing. One of the space shuttles is there, so very cool place to visit.
Yes, it's kind of interesting because when you come up from Watts Bar as well, we always talk about the space race and future forward, but part of the Tennessee River Valley also encompasses the Manhattan Project National Historic Park. So as you come up from Watts Bar, you can stop in Kingston and also visit that whole complex, which we knew of as Manhattan Project, but now that's an area of really historic value in terms of future computing. And that's a wonderful place to go visit as well. If you're around Chattanooga and you love historic trains, there are some great train rides out of Chattanooga that will take you through the Ocoee Gorge. And that's another fun place to do. You can do a half-day trip or a full-day trip, which is about 6 hours.
All right, and Solly mentioned that the Tennessee River has plenty of loopers at their marinas, so look for the AGLCA Burgee when passing through. That is great advice. You can also find AGLCA members on the Nebo app, that is spelled N-E-B-O, and that is a free app that allows, our members are shown in the app with the AGLCA logo, so you can kind of check from a distance whether there are loopers at a particular marina or not. Another question for you, Julie, where is the Manhattan Project Monument?
Okay, so there are several of them, but the big one is in Oak Ridge. And of course, the Manhattan Project National Park is located in 3 states. But the most interesting place to me is the Overlook, the K25 Overlook. And that is located, it's easier to get there from Kingston than it is from Knoxville. So you would want to be in Watts Bar and dock up in Kingston area and then travel over there. Again, what's really interesting about Kingston, you would go see this future forward, and you would also be on what was one time the Fort Southwest Point, which was the fort farthest in the West for the longest time. We always think of the West as over the Mississippi. Quite technically, the West was Tennessee and this whole region that we're in. So Fort Southwest is another beautiful place if you have dogs and you want to pull up and take your dog for a walk. You have a reconstructed fort, and that is a gorgeous area in there and right on the water.
All right, what other questions do we have for Julie today? Julie, Highway 58 is where the museum is located. And this is, I guess, from Chris Caldwell, the member, not Chris Caldwell, who was just presenting. Chris is saying on Highway 58 is where the museum is located, and you can take State Route 95 from Lenore City, about 10 to 12 miles. Sound about right to you, Julie?
Yep, you can do that. That would be another way to access it. It's a very connected, my region's very connected, so. I want to say something to the loopers too, because the first time I ever heard the word loopers, this is the time of year where you're all in Florida and we're up in the Midwest. We would be in Columbus and Cincinnati and Indianapolis. And the first time I ever heard the word loopers was in Indianapolis at the Indianapolis Boat Show. And somebody said to me, yeah, we're loopers. And I couldn't even fathom. I get so excited when I think about what you all do and how you travel. It's a dream for a lot of people, but there are people all over that are loopers, that is for sure. And to get a story every year from a looper in Indianapolis, and it was always a different one, has been fascinating to me. So I admire your spirit.
Well, that is sweet. We admire your knowledge of your particular area and how much information and assistance you've been giving to loopers. We have another question for you, Julie. This is from Roger. He says, we love to hike. What is the best place to dock and hike without having to rent a car to get to a trailhead?
Okay, so again, depending on which part of the loop you're on, there are trailheads right off. Johnsonville, if you're on Kentucky Lake, Johnsonville State Park is absolutely gorgeous. You can pull right up and dock up there and go for a hike. Pickwick, again, they have some great hiking trails in there. Huntsville would be a walk on a greenway. That's a fabulous walk. Chattanooga, I mean, that whole downtown has amazing things to walk and see if you like doing downtown. Knoxville, again, is another one that has a lot of walking trails. If you're particularly just looking for more of a wooded or that more of a hiking experience directly off the water, Lenoir City, right when you get off at right at the dam, there's some really nice little walkways there along the water that are heavily wooded and heavily shaded.
All right, next question. Anything on your website, Julie, or in the map guide that is specific to areas that are dog friendly? This member, Robert's going to be traveling with 2 pretty large dogs and definitely looking for dog friendly places to stop.
Yes. So when you're on the site and you're when you're looking at the things along the way, there is a block on each one of them that will tell you whether it's pet friendly or not. As a general rule, I will tell you that the cities of Chattanooga and Knoxville are incredibly pet friendly. So outdoor dining that you could have your pet, as you know, the aquarium's right there. They have seating. You could sit there with your pet and they're perfectly happy with that. I really can't answer that question for the other end of the river. I'm not as good on the Kentucky side. I do want to say, if you ever have a chance to go into LBL, Land Between the Lakes, that is another gorgeous area to visit. You don't want to ignore that one. And also downtown Paris, Tennessee.
All right, I'm not seeing any more questions at the moment. We'll give everyone another minute in case they've been waiting to type one. In the meantime, Julie will be at our expo, our sponsor expo, which is taking place on February 4th from 6:30 to 9. That will be on Zoom, so you will be getting more details about that coming shortly. Julie, so you'll be available then to answer questions, but
yes, I will be available. And back to the pet friendly, I will tell the group that we are developing another piece that's sort of printed, directed towards loopers for some of the questions that we have received back and forth. So yeah, I see something about bikes. Oh my gosh, absolutely.
Yeah, we have a question that was typed into the chat that I missed. I apologize for that, Jeff. The question is, we will have bikes. What are the best stops over, the best stopover for cycling?
So my question will be, are you looking to do just cycling on streets, or are you looking to do some heavy duty cycling?
So we'll see if Jeff can answer.
I'll just talk. Chattanooga is a wonderful biking community. You will see bikes all over, and you can rent bikes, e-bikes. Okay, so yeah, Chattanooga is a great one. E-bikes are also really popular in Knoxville, and e-bikes are really coming along on and this also is for hiking, the Singing River Trail that's being developed around Muscle Shoals. That's another area that has really latched on to e-bikes and biking to get around.
All right, that looks like it for you today, Julie, but we will certainly see you at the expo on February 4th. So thank you so much for joining us today and sharing some of those details about your beautiful area.